There's something eerie about silence before a storm. That pause, that unsettling stillness where everything seems fine. But if you pay close attention, if you're truly present, you can feel it. That subtle tightening in the air, that slight pressure building up inside your chest. You know something is coming, but you can't quite explain it. That's the feeling we are walking into right now. The start of August isn't just another page on the calendar. It's the last calm breath before something shifts, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous. See, most people only react when the chaos has already erupted. They don't see the signs. They don't feel the signals. Why? Because they're distracted. Their minds are fogged up with noise, plans, notifications, opinions, obligations. So when life is quiet, they think they're safe. They mistake stillness for peace. But sometimes stillness is simply the moment life gives you to prepare. And if you ignore it, you step into the storm unarmed. August is going to test you. Not with a loud crash, not at first. It will start quietly. A strange fatigue, a wave of doubt, a friction in your relationships, discomfort you can't quite name, and most will brush it off. They'll say, "It's just a bad week," or "I'm just stressed." But this isn't just stress. This is the quiet unraveling of things that no longer serve you. The outer world may appear calm, but internally, the cracks will begin to show. If you're not grounded, these cracks will expand. And quickly. A mind that has never learned to sit still will panic when its distractions no longer work. A heart that has been numbed by entertainment will ache when silence returns. You'll feel it, that urge to run, to scroll, to escape. But where will you run when it's your own inner world that's breaking down? The danger isn't in the noise. It's in the fact that you won't recognize the moment that matters most. The moment when you should have stopped, turned inward, and asked, "What is this trying to show me?" You see, the external collapse isn't the true threat. It's just a reflection. The real collapse, the one you need to prepare for, happens within. And if you don't see it coming, if you don't anchor yourself before it arrives, you'll be swept away by it. Not because life is cruel, but because you didn't listen when it whispered. This is why the beginning of August matters. It's the space between, the fragile window where you still have a choice. A chance to pause and reconnect with your core, to notice what you've been avoiding, to stop pretending you're okay when you're not, to face the uncomfortable truths before they grow into chaos. And the warning signs are already there, you felt them. The restless nights, the short fuse, the heavy sighs. These aren't just coincidences, they're signals. They're your body, your mind, your spirit trying to tell you something's out of alignment. Something's building up, and it won't stay buried forever. Now the question is, will you have the courage to stop running? To sit with the discomfort? To observe the silence not as a break from life, but as the very message life is sending you? Most people won't. They'll numb it with more movement, more stimulation, more pretending. But you're not most people. Not if you're still listening to this. Not if something in you recognizes the truth in these words. The time to prepare is not when the storm hits. It's before. It's when everything feels fine, but something deep inside tells you it's not. It's in the pause, the breath, the stillness. That's where awareness begins. That's where transformation starts. So don't be fooled by the calm. Don't wait for the explosion to wake you up. Use the silence. Read between the lines of your life. And ask yourself, with brutal honesty, what's breaking beneath the surface? Because the collapse isn't coming out of nowhere. It's been on its way for a long time. You've just been too distracted to see it. Until now. This is your moment. Pay attention. Most people will be caught off guard, not because life didn't warn them, but because they weren't paying attention. It's not that the signs weren't there. They always are. The truth is, people have lost their ability to see, not just with their eyes, but with their awareness. Their senses have dulled, not from age but from habit. The habit of constant distraction, the habit of escaping discomfort, the habit of choosing ease over truth. In a world addicted to noise, silence becomes unfamiliar. In a life filled with endless scrolling, endless talking, endless doing, stillness feels like death. But it's not death. It's the only place where real clarity begins. The danger of August isn't that something terrible will suddenly happen. The danger is that something has already been happening, slowly, quietly, beneath the surface. And most won't notice until it's too late. That's the nature of collapse. It rarely announces itself with fireworks. It creeps in while you're busy checking your phone. It builds while you're chasing another dopamine hit. It forms in the background while you numb out with entertainment, gossip, and fake productivity. And when the collapse finally reveals itself, people say, "Where did this come from?" But it was always there. It's just that they weren't. We've reached a point where people fear boredom more than failure. They would rather keep their mind occupied with noise than sit for 5 minutes and listen to their own thoughts. But what you refuse to face will find a way to face you. And that's what's happening now. The beginning of August isn't giving you a breakdown. It's stripping away the distractions that helped you avoid one. And the ones who haven't trained themselves to sit in truth, they'll panic. They'll cling harder to the very things that are hurting them. They'll tell themselves, everything is fine, even while their inner world is shaking. They'll drown in comfort food, comfort shows, comfort lies. But none of it will work the way it used to. And when that illusion begins to fade, most won't know what to do next, because they've built their identity on what they consume, not on what they cultivate. People think danger comes from the outside. Wars, disasters, economic collapse. And yes, those things are real. But the real danger is internal. It's spiritual decay. It's the erosion of self-awareness. It's the numbness that creeps in when you haven't been honest with yourself for years. That's what's dangerous about this time. The conditions outside may shift, yes, but the crisis within is already here. And only a few will be awake enough to face it. You can't see clearly if you don't stop. You can't hear what matters if you're always surrounded by noise. And you can't grow if you're unwilling to be uncomfortable. But these are the very things society has taught us to avoid. And now that the mask is slipping, people don't know how to handle reality. They've been rehearsing avoidance for so long, they don't remember how to feel. If you look around, you'll see it. People overreacting to small things, falling into fear, lashing out, shutting down. These aren't signs of external chaos. They're symptoms of internal fragility. When you haven't built a foundation within, anything can shake you. A shift in routine, a delay, a comment, a moment of uncertainty, and August will bring a lot of those. The ones who haven't built themselves will collapse with it, not because the world is ending, but because they were never really present in it to begin with. But there's another path, a quiet one, a sober one. It's not about panic or preparation in the conventional sense. It's about returning to yourself, tuning in, watching how you respond, noticing where your mind runs when discomfort knocks. That's your training ground, not in a retreat or a perfect morning routine, but in how you meet this exact moment. The truth is, you already know where you're weak. You already know what you're avoiding. The body remembers, the mind knows, but the heart waits. It waits for you to be still enough to listen. And when it speaks, it doesn't scream, it whispers. That's why you must be quiet now. That's why you must pay attention before the rest of the world starts to scream. Because if you don't notice now, you'll be forced to notice later. And by then, it will be much harder to find your center. So, while most people sleepwalk into the fire, you must wake up in the silence. That's the only way you won't burn. What's collapsing isn't just the systems outside of us. It's not just about politics, the economy, the world stage. That's all surface. The deeper collapse, the one that really matters, is happening inside. And that's what most people are unprepared for. They've built identities on shaky foundations, who they pretend to be, what they want others to believe about them. The stories they've repeated so many times they've mistaken them for truth. But now, in this moment, all of that is being exposed, not as punishment, but as an invitation. Because what's falling apart is not who you truly are. It's who you're not. The ego doesn't like this. It panics when it feels a loss of control. It clings to labels, achievements, opinions, appearances. It says, "This is who I am," and it fights to keep that illusion alive. But reality doesn't care about illusions. It strips them away, piece by piece, until all that's left is what's real. And this stripping down, this unraveling, is what feels like collapse. That's why it's so dangerous. Not because something is being taken from you, but because you've been identified with what was never truly yours to begin with. And when the false self begins to crumble, it feels like dying. That's why people resist it. That's why they deny it. But the truth is, it's not death. It's a return to something more honest, more grounded, more alive. But you have to be willing to let go of the layers. You have to be willing to meet the parts of yourself you've ignored, buried, or abandoned. Otherwise, when the collapse comes, you'll confuse it with destruction instead of seeing it for what it is, a clearing. This is the danger of August. Not the chaos outside, but the confrontation within. You will be asked, through discomfort, through challenge, through unexpected shifts, to face yourself. And not the version you've polished for others, but the raw, unfiltered truth that lives underneath. The version that doesn't need validation. The version that's been waiting to be remembered. But facing yourself isn't easy. It's like standing in front of a mirror with no filters, no edits, no performance. You'll see the habits that have held you back. You'll see the patterns you've blamed on others. You'll see the moments where you betrayed your own voice just to fit in, to be accepted, to be safe. And when you see all of that, you'll have a choice: keep pretending, or finally begin the real work. Most people will choose pretending. They'll patch the cracks with distractions. They'll chase new goals, new relationships, new philosophies. Anything to avoid the silence. But you can't rebuild your life with the same tools that broke it. And that's the shift that's coming now. The surface tools won't work anymore. You'll need depth, presence, honesty, stillness. That's what real strength is made of. That's the version of you that can't be shaken. But first comes the falling. First comes the shaking loose of all the parts of you that aren't aligned. That's why it hurts. That's why it feels unstable. Because the ground beneath you is shifting. And maybe it's not that life is pulling something away. Maybe it's revealing that it was never solid to begin with. There's no map for this kind of collapse. No checklist. No timeline. Because it's not about fixing something. It's about shedding. It's about becoming less, not more. Not in terms of value, but in terms of weight. You're carrying too much. Old beliefs, old wounds, old versions of yourself that you've outgrown, but haven't released. And now life is saying, put it down. When identity falls apart, don't try to glue it back together. Let it burn. Let it fall. Let it clear the way for something that doesn't need to be performed. Because what rises after the collapse is not a better version of the mask. It's the truth of who you've always been underneath it. And if that scares you, good. It means it matters. It means there's something real waiting for you on the other side. Something more quiet, more stable, more whole. But only if you're willing to walk through the fire, not around it. Only if you stop fighting the collapse and start listening to what it's trying to teach you. Don't confuse the breaking with the end. Sometimes it's the only way to begin again. With truth, with depth, with peace that doesn't need to be earned. So let it collapse. Let it all fall. You're not losing yourself. You're finally meeting the part of you that was never shaken to begin with. In times like these, the most valuable thing you have isn't money. It's not time. It's not even knowledge. It's energy, your attention, your presence. And most people are leaking it all day without even realizing it. They wake up already scattered, reaching for their phone before they've even taken a breath. opening their mind to noise before they've anchored in silence. And from that moment on, their energy is no longer their own. Everything in the modern world is designed to pull you out of yourself, to fragment you. You don't even need to do anything wrong. Just live unconsciously. Let the day carry you. Let the apps think for you. Let other people's problems enter your space. Slowly, quietly, without you noticing, your power begins to drain. Not in a dramatic collapse, but in 1,000 tiny leaks. By the time the real challenges arrive, you've got nothing left to give. You're tired, burnt out, emotionally brittle. Not because you did too much, but because you gave yourself away without meaning to. That's why energy matters more now than ever. Not just physical energy, not how fast you can move or how strong you feel, but energetic clarity, where your focus goes, where your presence lands. August is going to press on you. It's going to test the integrity of your center. And if you're leaking energy everywhere, into arguments, distractions, worries, comparisons, you won't be able to hold yourself steady when the weight drops. Most people live in a constant state of reaction. They're pulled by every notification, every opinion, every crisis that isn't even theirs to carry. They'll open 5 tabs in their mind before breakfast and wonder why they feel disconnected by noon. But this isn't a mystery. It's math. You only have so much bandwidth, so much presence. And when it's spread thin, everything suffers. Your thoughts become noisy, your emotions chaotic, your decisions reactive. Energy is your inner architecture. It's what holds you up. And in moments of pressure, it's not information or strategy that saves you. It's your energetic stability. Can you hold your ground without being pulled into panic? Can you remain calm in a storm without collapsing into your old habits? Can you choose awareness over reaction, even when everything around you feels unstable? These are the questions August will ask, and the answers lie in how you manage your energy. Right now, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to isolate yourself or cut everything off. But you do need to get intentional. You need to learn how to conserve yourself, not out of fear, but out of respect. You need to notice what drains you. Notice what sparks irritation. Notice the way your body tightens when you say yes to things that don't align. All of that is information. All of that is your system telling you your energy is leaking here. And then comes the hard part. Choosing to protect it. Choosing to pause before reacting. Choosing to sit in discomfort without numbing. Choosing to say no without explaining yourself. This is discipline, not the rigid, punishing kind, but the kind that honors your inner space. Because only when your space is clear can your decisions be clean. Only when your energy is collected can your actions be powerful. Look closely, and you'll see the people who remain grounded in chaos aren't the loudest. They're not the ones who have it all figured out. They're simply the ones who don't give themselves away. They protect their time, their focus, their emotional landscape. They know that in unstable times, the most radical thing you can do is remain centered. To not be swayed by every current. To not allow the external to dictate your internal. It sounds simple, but it's rare. Because we've been taught that giving our energy away is noble. That being available to everything and everyone is the sign of a good person. But in truth, that's how you lose yourself. That's how you become exhausted, resentful, fragmented. And when the pressure increases, as it will, you'll feel it. Not just as stress, but as a loss of self, a disconnection from your own clarity. And no amount of productivity or motivation will fix that. Only presence will, so take this seriously. Not as a concept, but as a daily discipline. Start paying attention to where your energy goes. Who drains it? What distracts it? How it shifts based on your choices. And then, little by little, reclaim it. You'll be amazed at what changes. Not outside you, but within. Because when your energy is yours again, you become unshakable. Not because life stops testing you, but because you stop leaking power every time it does. There was a time when discipline was optional. A nice idea. Something you'd talk about, maybe try for a few days, and then let fade as life distracted you again. You could afford to drift a little, to live casually, to delay the hard choices. But not anymore. That time is over. What's coming now, what's already beginning, isn't just a season of inconvenience. It's a season that will expose exactly where you've been undisciplined, where you've been lazy with your thoughts, sloppy with your actions, inconsistent with your values. And the cost of that, it won't be theoretical, it will be very real. The world doesn't reward potential, it rewards preparation. And preparation is built on discipline, not the kind that's rigid or fueled by fear, but the kind that's rooted in self-respect. The discipline to do what needs to be done, even when it's not convenient. The discipline to hold yourself accountable when no one else is watching. The discipline to be consistent with your values, your health, your mindset, not just when you feel motivated, but especially when you don't. You see, motivation is a temporary spark. Discipline is the fire you keep alive. Motivation might get you started, but when life gets heavy, and it will, only discipline will carry you through. And that's the danger of August. It's not that the world is falling apart. It's that your old ways of coping won't be enough anymore. Your shortcuts, your excuses, your patterns of avoidance, they're going to be tested. And unless you've built discipline, you're going to fall into the same cycles that have kept you stuck for years. Look around. Most people are on autopilot. They eat what's easy, think what's popular, say what's safe, and then they wonder why they feel lost, why they can't trust themselves. It's because they've trained themselves to break promises to the one person who matters most, themselves. That's what lack of discipline really is. It's self-betrayal in slow motion. It's telling yourself you'll rise early and then hitting snooze. It's saying you'll be more present, but reaching for your phone again. It's choosing comfort over growth until growth feels impossible. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's about remembering who you are when everything tries to make you forget. It's about refusing to be pulled around by impulses, distractions, emotions. It's about becoming someone whose actions match their words, someone who doesn't just want strength, but lives like it every single day, in the smallest choices, when no one is clapping, when no one is looking. In times of peace, you can get away with being loose. In times of pressure, the undisciplined collapse. They lash out, they blame others. They fall back into addictions, distractions, loops they swore they'd outgrown. Because pressure doesn't create your character, it reveals it. And if your foundation is weak, if your habits are scattered, August will show you. Not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. Life doesn't lie, it simply reflects. This is the part where you choose. Not with a dramatic declaration, but with quiet, repeated action. When you wake up and your mind wants to drift, can you bring it back? When your emotions flare, can you stay calm? When the path ahead is unclear, can you still take the next right step without waiting to feel ready? That's the kind of discipline you need now. One that holds the line. One that says, I don't rise or fall based on how I feel. I move based on what I've committed to. I don't need external motivation because I know what it costs me when I abandon myself. That's the root of it all. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being in integrity with yourself, with your path, with the truth that lives underneath your excuses. This month, don't expect ease, expect tests, expect noise, expect chaos, but also expect this, that the more disciplined you become, the less these things shake you. The more consistent you are with your habits, the less reactive you'll be to the world. The stronger your inner framework, the more clearly you'll move through confusion. So while others chase shortcuts and crumble in distraction, you take the slow path, the quiet path, the disciplined path, because when the storm comes, and it will, the ones who have trained themselves will not be the ones seeking shelter. They'll be the ones building something new, something real, something that lasts. The moment you hear a warning, you have two choices. You can dismiss it, tell yourself it's dramatic, exaggerated, something that applies to others but not to you. Or you can pause, you can listen, not just with your ears, but with your whole being. Because sometimes the warning isn't about fear, it's about clarity. Sometimes it's life tapping you on the shoulder, saying, wake up. This is your chance. That's what this is. Not a threat, not a prediction of doom, but an invitation, an opening. And what makes it dangerous is that most people won't recognize it. They'll be too busy trying to keep things as they are, too attached to comfort, too invested in the illusion of control. So when life begins to shift, they'll fight it. And in that resistance, they'll suffer, not because change is cruel, but because they refuse to grow when the moment asks them to. This isn't about panic. This is about presence. It's about seeing that August isn't just a date. It's a mirror. It's a threshold. And whether you cross it asleep or awake will shape everything. The collapse, the discomfort, the tension, all of it is trying to show you something about how you live, about how you move through the world, about what you've been avoiding. The warning is not outside of you. It's in the patterns that repeat, the pain that keeps showing up, the dreams you keep postponing, that quiet voice inside that says, you can't keep living like this. And yes, facing that voice is uncomfortable. That's why most people turn up the volume on everything else. More content, more plans, more distraction. But noise doesn't silence truth. It just delays the moment you finally have to sit with it. And now, that moment is here. The world isn't waiting for you to be ready. Life doesn't ask for permission. It moves, it changes, it pushes forward with or without your agreement. And that's what makes this so urgent. Because you don't get unlimited chances to wake up, you get signs, you get nudges, you get the storm slowly building in the distance. And if you ignore all of it, at some point, the wave comes crashing, and by then, it's not a lesson anymore, it's survival. But here's the truth. Right now, you're not too late. Right now, you still have space to shift, to breathe, to decide. That's the gift. The warning is arriving before the collapse, not after. And that alone is powerful. Because if you choose to hear it, really hear it, you don't need to wait for breakdown to begin the breakthrough. It starts with awareness, with owning the truth you've been avoiding, with letting go of the parts of you that are no longer aligned. That takes courage, not the kind that looks impressive from the outside, the quiet kind, the kind that wakes up early when no one's watching, the kind that has hard conversations with the self, the kind that sits with discomfort without needing to fix it or escape it. Because this isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters. Fewer distractions, sharper focus, more integrity. If something doesn't align, it has to go. If someone drains your energy, that needs to be addressed. If you've been living disconnected from your values, you don't get to blame anyone else for how lost you feel. You wake up, you come back to yourself, and you act like it matters, because it does. The most powerful transformations never start with fireworks. They begin quietly, with a decision, with a shift in how you carry yourself, with a refusal to keep numbing. That's what this moment offers you. And that's why so few people see it. Because they're still looking for something loud to shake them awake. But this isn't loud, it's subtle. And if you don't slow down enough to notice, you'll walk right past it and keep repeating the very cycles you swore you'd leave behind. You've been given a window, a crack in the pattern, a moment to choose differently, and it won't last forever. At some point the window closes and you're left living with the version of yourself you chose to be when it was open. So ask yourself, not out of fear, but out of radical honesty, who are you becoming? And what needs to end so that something real can begin? Because this warning isn't here to scare you. It's here to shake you gently, one last time, before life shakes you harder.